Awesome. Thanks for jumping on, man.
No, bro. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've been talking about it for a while.
We have. I don't get down here very often.
No, you don't.
I need to come down more often, though.
You need to make it your hometown, I reckon.
Move down here.
No, it's better. The Hunter Valley is the best place for hunting, so that's where you want to be.
That's very true. I'm keen, man. Like, there's so much stuff I want to ask, and I don't know how long this thing's going to go for, but I'm really keen to chew into, like, you're a very detailed man with bows, bow builds, all that sort of stuff. How long have you been bow hunting for?
Obviously been bow hunting since I was very young. Dad introduced me to it when I was like 4 or 5, and obviously it's just grown from there. I've probably become more serious into it, obviously, since I've become older, like late teens sort of things, when I started to really jump into it, started to sort of target like your deer species and stuff more, and all that sort of stuff. So, like I said, deer and everything become pretty much my forte. Like, love chasing deer and stuff. So, like, that's kind of the serious aspect, I guess, where I sort of jumped into it a bit more seriously. Do
you think you fell in love with it just because you were brought into it at such a young age, or did you have the opportunity to like drop off and you came back, all that sort of stuff?
Oh, to be honest, I kind of just was obviously brought into it, so I kind of don't know any different. So like, that's why I don't know if you've seen recently, I've been more into me fishing sort of thing. Even though I was still introduced to fishing at a young age, I have kind of taken that a bit more seriously in the last probably 12 months. Because it's something different, something I kind of discovered by myself. Like, even though I said I've still had a bit of experience fishing before, but it was a bit of a different sort of realm, so I've dived into that. But like I said, hunting, I've just known it, breathed it my whole life. It's just been one of those things that's just become a huge passion and basically a lifestyle. So,
what's your you say lifestyle? What's your ideal scenario? Do you prefer local? Do you prefer overseas? All that sort of
stuff. To be honest, I've never done any hunting overseas. It's always just been local stuff. Always just been like around the valley and chasing your bread and butter. Pigs, goats, and like I said, obviously deer are more of a passion for me now. So yeah, it's only been really that kind of stuff. Do have aspirations to eventually jump over the ditch or to NZ or go over to the States and chase elk or something like that. But at the moment, it's only been the Australian species. Like, I've been most places in Australia, like Cape York, NT. Been down, also went down to Vic last year, chased the sambar and all that sort of stuff. So I have kind of branched out a little bit to the realms of what Australia has to offer, but haven't done anything internationally just yet.
What because you've chased, there's a lot of like really nice quality redheads here around the place, and they're quite a difficult deer to target in Australia. That like the access to them, the quality genetics, the age, all of that sort of stuff. So you obviously put a fair bit of time into those guys. Why them over most other species?
I like the reds probably because like probably guess like similar to you guys with like the sambar. They're probably a bit more elusive deer around these parts. Like between like your fallow and your reds around this sort of area are going to be your primary two deer species that you're going to target. Reds are that elusive species that have that bit more of a challenge. Like there's probably more so because of the numbers. There's not many of them there. They are extremely switched on. You got to basically change the whole sort of tactic between the two. Like even though they do have similarities between fallow and reds. Reds just have that next level, in my opinion, that they just got that edge over the fallow, and I just love chasing them. They're just a majestic animal. Obviously have the royal name, so I just love chasing them, and they become definitely my passion.
They're interesting too because they travel a lot, don't they? From basically where they shed and grow antler and rub out and all that sort of stuff to where they actually rut raw. Yeah, that can be like hundreds of kilometres, can't it?
It can be, yeah. Like, so if it's within the range, like we had I think it might have been last year or the year before, we had a instance with a game camera with a couple of deer. We seen one on a game camera, or between, like, this was with one of our mates. He had a photo of a deer on a game camera in a state forest, and one on a private block a long way away. It would have been probably 90 k's in a straight line, and there was no two-tone deer apart, but definitely the same deer, had the same like crowns and all that sort of stuff. It was definitely the same deer, same very identical features, and like I said, that just goes to show how far they can travel for that rut period. So I said it's one of those things, they can travel. It just doesn't matter where they want to sort of go. It's wherever the girls are. That's pretty well for that, where they travel for the rut. They definitely can put the footwork in and go plenty of distance.
And you've made bow hunting your lifestyle now, like you live and breathe it, you work it. What brought you into doing it as a retail service provider?
More so, like just with the jumping into it, like, obviously as a lifestyle choice, because in this realm, I can obviously show people some things that I've learned over the years. Try my best to obviously give people a good service and make sure their bows are shooting correctly. That's probably where I get the passion out of it, because I am a bit of a technical sort of head when it comes to like your bows and that sort of stuff. Like kind of, I guess you can kind of call that tinkering, I guess, with the compound stuff. So I obviously have experienced a fair bit with that. I've had a million different bows myself. Like I play with pretty well every bow model and brand. So I have a bit of knowledge on pretty much most bow companies. So like I said, it kind of become a bit more of a passion, because like there wasn't much around here that you could take your bow somewhere and have it tuned and set up and all that sort of stuff. Not that like I'm the world's best bow tuner or anything, but I said I have a bit of an idea, and that's what I sort of wanted to put to people. And it was more so my experiences that I could share with people, and hopefully they could learn something from me or someone in the store or something like that. They could that they could take away and put into their sort of hunting life. So that's why it's sort of the idea with Nick sort of branched out to become a retail space that we could put our experiences forward and offer them to people as some lessons.
Why do you find that you got into the really detailed nitty-gritty aspects of bow builds and tuning?
Like I said, I do enjoy like the hands-on kind of aspect of it. Like it's one of those things. Like I'd done a fitting and turning trade before most of all this sort of stuff, and I do enjoy the hands-on aspect. So I kind of got into the crux of pulling bows apart and just learning how they worked. So that was really fun. I said I enjoyed that, and then obviously learning about what different bow models were doing, like different companies, why they did certain things, what made the difference between, say, like a Hoyt and a Matthews, why they may suit someone versus why something else might suit someone. So I kind of like to learn all that, and obviously like to learn it for myself as well, because I was currently going through and playing with those bows myself. So I wanted to learn how to make sure they shot the best they could. And so that's why I kind of got into the nitty-gritty, and I just enjoyed that aspect of playing around, pulling things apart. So yeah.
I'm actually keen to understand the Hoyt Matthews discussion, because I've had a few chats with different people about it, and different pros and cons for each or either or. Can you break that down into sort of if you're this kind of bow hunter, you should probably go this way. If you're this kind of bow hunter, you should probably go the other. Yeah.
So like obviously in the store space, we have, like you said, Hoyt and Matthews are our main brands. We do have the potential to do other ones as well, but why like Hoyt and Matthews are our sort of choice is like the same thing with the store. We want to have things that we've had experience with, that we know pretty much, we have the best advice on. So like Hoyt and Matthews, if you're a rough and ready, don't really get to hunt too often, like to kind of set things up and forget about them, Hoyt's probably going to be your preference, is because they tend to be a bit more reliable, that I've found. I said, like tuning wise and stuff, they don't seem to come out of tune as much. They can take a bit more of a beating. They're not so temperamental. So like on the other side, Matthews, not saying that they're like temperamental or anything like that, but they just don't seem to hold their tune as well, I would say. It's only very minor, and that kind of applies to someone who likes to play around with their bow a bit more. Like someone likes to try with different setups. Generally that's going to go in their favour. So like I said, if you're someone that likes just to enjoys archery, the crux of it, likes playing around with different setups and bows and stuff, like Matthews would probably be the bow for you, because like I said, at the end of the day, they all shoot good. Like there's no two talon bows apart. Like I said, any of the top of the line bows these days, they all shoot bang on. Like I said, it just depends on what your sort of style is. Like I said, if you're rough and ready and you kind of beat your gear around the bush and all that sort of stuff, the Hoyt's probably going to be a preference, because it just holds its tune a bit more and is a bit like I said, more reliable. So so that's pretty well in a nutshell why those bows would suit someone. I said there's plenty of other reasons as well, but they're pretty much the two. Like it's pretty simple in that with those two sayings there.
I didn't realise how much of a difference axle to axle length plays in shooting, because I was shooting a 30-inch Matthews, and then obviously went through you guys and got a 33, and it's so much more forgiving. It's so much more comfortable, because I'm a kind of lanky kind of dude too, shooting a longer draw length and everything. It's so much nicer to shoot, so much more comfy. I can stabilise like way better, all just from an extra 3 inches of axle to axle length.
So it definitely makes a massive gives you a massive benefit going to those longer axles. And it's more so for like if the bow suits you better. Like if someone has a shorter draw, like say if they've got like a 25 or 26 inch draw, they'll get the same feeling out of the shorter bow because it's a bit better suited to them, like the string angles and stuff work. Whereas like I said, yourself being a bit taller, the 33 just allows you to have that better feel. You don't feel as cramped, it just feels more relaxed. And that's essentially what you want for hunting. Like you don't want to have anything that's going to jeopardize that opportunity, because obviously you work a lot of time to get that opportunity on an animal, so you want to make it count. And that's why having those things are going to make it more forgiving in those circumstances is better. Like I said, longer axle for you is going to make it feel a bit more forgiving in that situation. Whereas like if someone's a bit shorter draw, the bow itself being a bit shorter axle, a bit more snappy might be the preference for them, because they can get better penetration and that sort of stuff because they generally are a little bit faster, the smaller axle ones. And yeah, like I said, it works out to be whatever sort of suits you best. Like we can, at the end of the day, someone comes in and says, oh, we want to have this bow, we're set on this bow, by all means go with that. But if we try to give our advice on why this bow would be better, and if they wanted to still go for whatever model it is, that's obviously fine as well. But like I said, yeah, your longer axle stuff's definitely going to be a more stable shooting platform across the board.
What are the top few common mistakes that you see with people when they buy bows or when they bring bows in that they've done or are doing?
Generally, most common mistakes, and it's probably a pretty big one that a lot of people don't really look at, is the eye dominancy. It's a massive portion, and obviously being accurate and all that sort of stuff. So that's probably the number one people. So we see a lot of people come, they just go buy a bow. They might buy one secondhand online somewhere. They just want to get into it. They don't really know too much about it, and they think, oh, I'm right-handed. I'll just get a right-handed bow, where in theory they could be left-eye dominant. So to be more accurate, they should be shooting their left hand, like a left-handed bow, to be matching up with their eye dominancy. So that's probably the number one thing that we see that people come. Well, not the number one, but like I said, that's probably one of the big ones. That's such a simple thing that doesn't get looked at. Next one would be having bows just nowhere near in tune, wrong arrows, like just wrong arrow setups for what they're trying to do. And like I said, the tuning aspect comes into it the most. Like I said, if your arrow's not shooting right, you're not maximising your bow's efficiency. It's not going to feel comfortable. There's just so many things that can go wrong with that small part of it. Like I said, it's not something that people look at because they don't really understand it. So that's why it's better to come to a store or one of your friends that might have more experience in that aspect, and try and get your bow shooting dead on, because it's just going to make everything better. Like I said, arrow efficiency, the bow and also the stuff's going to shoot nice, they're going to sound better. So those are probably two main ones that we see a lot when people come in. Like I said, they've bought something online, it's not quite right, and we come in and try and fix it for them.
And you've gone, like you said, you've played with lots of bows yourself and all that sort of stuff. What compounds have you settled on? What compound have you settled sort of on that you're really comfy with?
So at the moment, I've got a PSE Mach 34. I've, like I said, played around with a million different brands. I've always sort of enjoyed the PSEs. I had one for a few years ago. I said really enjoyed it, and then obviously upgraded to a different bow and played around with that for a little while. But in like since obviously the store sort of has come around, I've played around with a lot of bows, and I've chopped and changed a lot, and people obviously take the piss out of me for it, because I can't keep the same bow for more than a couple of months, it seems. But like I said, I just enjoy that aspect of playing around with things. But at the moment, I've got a PSC. I enjoy the way it shoots, holds really nice, it's lightweight. I can manipulate the stabilizers and all that sort of stuff every way I want, and I can actually see a difference to it. Whereas, like I said, if you have something that's having a bit heavier, being an aluminium bow or something, it might not feel as good. At the moment, like I said, I just enjoy that carbon bow, playing around with different setups. Like I said, if I want to go extremely lightweight, I like to put the quiverizer on there with a little back bar. If I want to set it up for more of a long range sort of setup, I like to run the front bar and the back bar with a side quiver. It just depends on which situation, but at the moment it's the PSC.
Awesome. And you've gone to trad in the last few years.
Yep.
And what made you transition to that?
So I've always sort of played around with the trad stuff. I did it a lot through my teen years, and then had a hand injury through work that kind of hindered that, and I had to give it up for a little while, just while I was in sort of recovery, I guess. I had a few scar tissue issues and all that sort of stuff. It kind of hindered the way I shot, so I just said, I'll just give it a little bit of a rest. And I just got really into the compounds, and that's kind of when like the tinkering aspect started. I played around with them a lot more, but since then I've picked it back up in the last 3 years, probably taken it a bit more seriously. I just enjoy the simplicity of it. Like I said, as much as I enjoy the tinkering aspect and being in the nitty gritty of a compound bow, I really enjoy the simplicity of what a trad bow offers, because there's not really anything that can really go wrong. It's just you pull it back, get to your anchor point, let it rip, and hopefully you get somewhere close to the mark you're aiming for. And like I said, there's not really, you kind of have to hold yourself a bit more accountable, and you can't really blame your equipment too much. Like I said, if you miss the shot, that's just because you fucked the shot, basically. You can't really say, oh, my sight's out or my rest is out or something like that. Like, it's just that real simplicity part that I like to it.
Have you've killed a few animals, like a few trophy animals with the trad bow?
Yeah, now so I've killed a couple of red deer, buffalo, scrub bulls, obviously boars, goats. Pretty well most things I've conquered with the stick bow. Obviously there's a lot that I still want to do, but for the most part I have taken a fair few, I guess you can call them trophy animals. And like I said, it is definitely a very satisfying thing to take something down with the trad gear. It's very primal. It's definitely one of those things that I reckon everyone should eventually branch to when they get to that point.
And I did hear this story last time I was here, but you chased sambar with the trad.
Yeah.
Year just gone?
Yep, you're just gone, yep.
Explain to me how that all went and what your take is on sambar deer.
So I had a little bit of experience with sambar deer, just from local stuff. There is actually like the sambar deer moving further up towards obviously us from Vic. And yeah, so I had a little bit of an idea of what to expect. And they were really obviously tough around here, being a bit more suburban sort of thing. But heading down there, I was obviously very open to just learning a heap, and trying my best to get on top of a few deer. And we went to a couple of spots, and yeah, I said where we went was pretty hard going to start off with. There wasn't a lot of sign or anything like that. And then it was funny, like you just literally crest the ridge into a different gully, and all of a sudden there's sign everywhere. And I was like, oh, there has to be something here. And it's just, even though there was plenty of sign there, and like you think for sure that there's going to be a deer somewhere, like you just don't see them. You just like, I don't get how I'm not seeing, like I'm sitting in the perfect spot. I can't fathom how there's not a deer here. So like, just that kind of aspect, similar to like your reds and stuff, is what kind of draws me to them, because they're elusive, they're hard to get. And another added aspect of the sambar, not like to my knowledge, they don't vocalize like a red or a fallow does. So it makes it a bit harder as well to try and get onto them, and then you can hunt them year round as well. So that kind of always has a draw feature to them. So heading down there, like I said, went down with an open mind, and definitely got humbled a fair few times from plenty of deer. So it was, yeah, an eye-opening experience, and I definitely plan to go back down there again this year if I can get some time, and try and knock over a stag. But yeah, like I said, I had a good experience down there last time. Managed to get a couple of hinds, and even I did hit a stag, and just had the not the stick bow fail on me, but I guess you can say my arrow setup maybe. So I just hit the sequence that I was sort of offered was a deer was coming up out of a valley above me at a steep angle. The shot was going to be about 40 yards, and like how steep it was, I was looking at where he was standing broadside. I just needed to get the angle right. I basically had to hit him on the knuckle of on the elbow. So I was like, just to get the angle right into his chest cavity. And I was like, I can definitely make the shot. I'll let it rip and see how we go. Hit where I wanted to hit, but just didn't get quite enough penetration. Like I said, probably underestimated how dense like a sambar's like skeletal frame and stuff is, and all their bones and stuff. I probably definitely underestimated that, and yeah, just had the arrow pull up about probably 8 inches of peno, like just not quite enough to get where I needed to go. And I said he just took off down the hill, and that was the end of that. But I said, shot placement wise, I was happy with it. This is, I just didn't quite get the penetration that I needed.
Yeah, they do. They seem to be that way inclined, because a lot of people, you have to shoot pretty heavy rifle calibers too from their big dense deer. Yeah. They're so big and they're so quiet, and they move so quietly in all that dense bushland down there. They're crazy. And Chittle too. You've hunted those guys up north a fair bit as well.
Not a fair bit. I've done one trip up there with James last year, and yeah, again, that's just another can of worms. Those things are. So it's very, very, very hard. Like I said, again, tried to take it on with the recurve, and quickly realised that they're just so agile and hard to sort of pick, and they're just so skittish, and it's just very,
String jumpers proper, eh?
Oh mate, the situation that I was faced with up there as well was I was sneaking in on a mob. I spent pretty well all day, obviously going around, taking it real slow, looking for ears, antlers, anything I could see in the grass, and eventually got onto a mob, seeing a couple of hinds bedded in the grass, and I played around with them for a little while because I just had to I couldn't quite see the full mob, and I thought there had to be a stag there with how many hinds I could see. Eventually got probably about 2 hours into it, like getting just like inching closer, and I couldn't quite see anything. I was going, I don't know if I should stick around here because I can't see a stag, so like I don't want to spend a full day on a mob of 5 hinds if there's no stag there. So I was like, I'll push the issue a little bit more. Anyway, I pushed the issue. The hinds stood up. They see me. Pretty typical. As soon as I moved out of place, they picked me up straight away and jumped up. There was no stags there with them, so I was like, it was probably the right decision to make at the time. They then sort of took off, and then out in the field, or out in the paddock a bit further, I noticed a couple of stags stand up. So they were probably bedded 300 metres off this mob, out in the grass, and obviously my attention was drawn to the close stuff, and I probably should have been looking a bit further than what I was expecting, but at the time I was just more focused on the stuff that was close to me. And they so they popped up, and I spotted them. There's a couple of good stags there, and I was like, I believe there's going to be my afternoon if they can settle down and I can get back onto them. Anyway, they kind of decided to move on a little bit, and eventually met up with another mob, and I snuck in, and then spent the next 3 or 4 hours getting close to them. Got into within bow range, so I was under 20 metres from the mob. I had hinds at 6 and 10 metres sort of thing, but I had the stag that I wanted to shoot bedded at 24 just behind a tree. There was another couple of stags that I would have shot as well. Like I wasn't very picky. Obviously using a trad bow, anything that sort of gave me a chance, I was going to be quite happy to take. The one I had picked out was sitting at 24, bedded, sort of quartering away, but just sort of not tucked up to the tree a little bit, that I couldn't get a shot at the time, so I had to wait for him to stand. Anyway, they kind of, a few times the wind sort of changed, and a couple of hinds sort of jumped up and sort of got a bit skittish, and I was surprised they didn't blow out, to be honest, but they laid back down. Eventually, they all sort of got up. The stag went and stretched out, and then walked out behind the tree, come around to about 20. I might have been a little bit further up, about 20, 21, and sort of stretched out again. I've drawn back to let rip. As soon as I've shot, I don't know if it was just him at the time or just the convenience, so he moved forward. I don't know if it's him jumping the string, or like I said, if he was just doing it naturally, and it just didn't quite hit where I wanted to hit, and I said he took off. But I said that's the struggles of the recurve. I said had it been a compound, I said it might have been a different story, but I know plenty of people that have chased them and had the same sort of issues with compounds. So I said it was just one of those things. I said hopefully next time I get to have a crack, I'll see how we go, but definitely want to try and target one of them with the stick and string. I think it'd be quite the achievement. So
they're an incredible animal. Like I've seen them duck Aiden's string at 19 metres. Yeah. And it had no clue he was there. Yeah. And just from the bow going off. Yeah. And like, I don't know, how fast on average does an arrow travel?
So generally most compounds will be between, depending on obviously the arrow setups and stuff and poundage, between 250 and 300 feet per second. So like they're going super, like pretty quick, like well faster than anything that you or I could jump out of the way of. A trad bow is probably at best generally 180 to 200. Like a fast trad bow is going over 200, but most commonly you'd be around that 180 mark. And like again, still well fast enough that you or I could even comprehend. So like I said, for them to get out of the way of it just blows my mind every single time I see it happen. It's wild. It's
insane. The one I've got footage of it actually, of Aiden shooting it, and the stag ducks the bow, ducks the string, ducks the arrow, and as it's turning the same way, and it like hits the antler. Like you hear it go like clunk clunk, and I was off filming and I was like, what's that? That was a weird noise. Like Aiden's bow broke or something happened. Yeah. And I look back on the footage and it's like caught his antler and flung the arrow out. Yeah. You could see the fletch like flying off the deer.
Yeah, Hoda and I had a similar situation when we were trying to knock over a fallow doe for a bit of meat. Had a doe feeding up towards us as we were sitting down in the grass, and she eventually walked past at about 25, I think it was. I drew back, settled the pin, let it rip, and I said, no clue we were there, and then I let it rip, and she just ducked, got out of the way, completely got out of the way, and missed her by a good foot. Like it was over, like, and if you play it back, like Hoda filmed it just on his phone, you play it back from where she was standing to where she ended up. If she hadn't moved, it would have taken her top of her heart and like double lung sort of thing. Because she moved and where she went, she got so low to the ground, and then it just took off like nothing happened. And it just, like I said, it blows my mind every single time it happens how fast and how reactive they are.
It's insane. And that reaction, well, I guess like most of them are running from tigers and leopards and
That's
shit.
it. Like it's bred in their bloodline to be aware of tigers and all that sort of stuff. So that's why they're so skittish. But
I don't think it'll ever stop. Like,
No.
I don't think they'll ever, like, even here, I don't think they'll ever get, I don't know, do you reckon genetics will ever, like, ancestry and all that sort of stuff, that deer in, say, 20 years' time will be less athletic?
I don't think so, because obviously with hunting aspects and stuff, I said there's more and more hunters and stuff getting around. Like, deer are going to see more people. Like I said, they may lose that, I guess, primitive thing of, I guess, your tiger stuff, but in saying that, they've been around for like hundreds of years already, and they still haven't lost that kind of natural reaction to it. Like, so I can only see it probably getting worse, to be honest, because like I said, how many more people they're probably going to come into contact with, how many more hunters they're going to see, how many more times they're going to get an arrow shot at them. Like, they're going to probably see it a lot more. So I don't think that they'll lose that edge anytime soon. I think they'll continue it. If not, they'll probably get even smarter and more fast and all sorts of stuff.
Most likely. I think most of them live around people too, like Samba country. There's roads all through there, and motorbikes, and people going doing shit all the time.
Oh, that's right.
Like in the public land anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think so. What there's like I said before, there's a few reds up on the wall here. Have you got like a most memorable?
Well, there's two that probably are more memorable than the others. Like I said, obviously my first one that I shot, which is just down the wall down there. It's just a younger 5.5. But that was the first one I'd shot, and we shot it with my dad and all that sort of stuff. So it's just there. That was just a memorable time. It was a pretty uneventful, not really uneventful afternoon, obviously, because I ended up shooting a deer, but we didn't have much planned. We're just sitting on a dam. Deer come in, shot it, and like I said,
that happens rarely, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, like I said, it just played out exactly how we wanted it to play out. It just wasn't anything. I said it was just a standard afternoon. I said obviously it ended really well, but probably the most memorable would definitely be my best stag I've shot to date, most mature, I would say. Shot it with the recurve a couple of years ago now. Spent the best part of 3 or 4 days, I think it was, chasing deer around it was actually with James actually. So we spent a couple of days chasing deer around, getting our ass handed to us like we generally do. And then this one morning, we actually decided to split up, because at the time it was a really wet rut, and James needed to go get the car from out the front of the block and bring it through up to camp. So we sort of walked into where we were going to camp for the week, and so like we couldn't do that at the start because of how wet it was. So we walked in. Anyways, James was going back at the front. I said, I'll just quickly run up this valley. I can hear a red roaring. I'm going to just quickly check him out, and then I'll come back and set up camp, and we'll set up camp more and do that sort of stuff. So I went up there and got in, quickly worked out that it was a good deer, and spent, another situation where you spent a couple of hours planning a stalk and take it in slow, and got in there. But eventually got into the thicket that he was in. It was only holding one hind, and eventually managed to scurry myself across a bit of a rock ledge, and just waited there for 15 sort of minutes, and he eventually got a bit of curiosity. I think there may have been a deer blowout from behind me that may have got his attention, and he came up out of the gully on a bit of a game trail, let out a roar. I could only just see like his neck and top of his shoulders at that point. He let out a roar, and then come that extra couple of steps further, and I was obviously sort of ready at the time. It was definitely a harder shot with a recurve. I was sitting on my ass with my legs facing forward. Like, it was definitely not the most prime position to be sitting in, but made it work. And then sent an arrow straight down the front, hit him basically bang on exactly where I wanted to hit, and he took off down the hill and eventually went up and died. But I didn't see him fall over, so I was obviously had that stress of
the worst feeling.
Did I get him or not? And I'm walking down the hill and there was no blood. I'm going, this is going to be a pain in the ass. And I was following his footprints. Like I said, being a front on shot, unless you hit some major artery, generally they don't bleed too much, because they've got to the blood's obviously got to build up into the cavity and then fall out. So luckily, obviously, he had footprints going up the hill in sort of the wet mud. Followed them up to the top of the ridge and couldn't see him at the start. I'm going, he's gone somewhere. And there was a fence line. I was like, he probably jumped over this fence and went down into this next valley. And that's right. I walked up it was actually along a bit of a game trail, and just actually jumped on the phone to my dad. And I was like, I've hit a deer. I don't know where it's gone. And as I was talking to him, I just happened to turn my head back and caught in the peripheral. and antlers sticking up out of the grass. So like how tall the grass was, I just couldn't quite see him. And then yeah, had that joy of I got it done, and yeah, definitely would be the most memorable one, because I said not trained, but like I'd practiced a lot with the recurve leading up to it, and that was the goal, to get a red stag with the stick. So to have something, a plan that I wanted to do and then make it happen, was definitely something I'll never forget.
That's epic. Upgrading that'd be pretty hard, wouldn't it?
Definitely. I said he's not the most, doesn't have the most points or anything. Like he's just a 5'4" if he's missing his seconds, but he's just old, heavy, tipped in, and just he's just on 40 inches. But like I said, just the age to him, like we've sort of aged him around that sort of 10-year mark, so he's definitely starting to get up there, very mature deer. And like I said, I don't think, especially with the recurve, I don't think I'll better him anytime soon. So I think he'll hold a special place in my heart for a long time.
Do you reckon he's got less points and stuff because he's just old and starting to go backwards, or do you reckon he's just genetics? Yeah,
well, there's actually a story with him. He was, a couple of years prior, Nick had actually shot him. He actually shot that deer, because there's a very telling factor. Very telling factor. The antlers are tipping in a long way, so he's got a very, very unique sort of, not unique, but like a pretty unique style for the area. So it's definitely easy to sort of pick him out, and the sort of frame that he has. Nick said, I definitely shot that deer. And anyway, it's the way we kind of confirmed it. It's a bit of a funny story, because obviously took a lot of meat off him, took him down to one of our mates that does a little bit of butchering. He's like a mincer sort of thing. So took it down there, took all the legs and that sort of stuff, and he actually had a bullet, a projectile in his back leg. So the story was with Nick, and he was hunting him sort of thing, and one of the other guys he was hunting with had a rifle, so I was hunting, obviously Nick was shooting with a bow and I was hunting with a rifle, and Nick shot it right on dark on one afternoon, and then they eventually followed him into the night and found him up on a ridge somewhere, facing away, like pretty well busted. Like it hit him in the shoulder somewhere. It just didn't get quite enough penetration, so more than likely to hit one lung. But he was standing there sick, and because it was dark and they wanted to obviously make it the best thing for the animal and just make it as humane as possible, wanted to shoot it just with the rifle. So Nick aimed up with a gun, shot, probably hit a tree limb or just something like that, and the bullet's deflected, hit it in the arse, and then the deer's run off. And they spent the next couple of days trying to track it and find it. Never found it. And then, obviously, seeing the one that I shot, he said, "Oh, I've seen that deer before. I shot him a couple of years ago." And then having the butcher find, or my mate find the bullet in the back leg, that's just a good factor.
Holy!
So it's a pretty cool story. I said, I've still actually got the little bullet he found. So
that's unreal. That's crazy, and that just shows how tough they are too.
That's it.
Survive another season or two just to bloody,
that's right,
and come back and rut and all that sort of stuff. That's incredible. I did a podcast with Aiden, like I said, a few days ago, and he was talking about, he did a bantang hunt in the territory recently, and he said some of the scars on those animals are like incredible. Yeah. It's
every animal like out there is like they're super tough. Like I always look at like mountain boars or any real like pig or anything as a super tough animal. Like, they get scars, they get cut open like fighting and all that sort of stuff. Like the amount of infections and stuff they would have to fight, and then going through tough seasons of no food, struggling for water and all that sort of stuff, to be able to survive, it's just how tough they are and resilient blows my mind. So
that pigs are another bloody thing that are pretty incredible too, because they're harder to shoot than you think. Like good boars, I haven't done it down here obviously, but I've watched a lot of it. I've hunted them myself with dogs and rifles, and I've killed a couple with the bow. But like they're always moving. The good pigs are always just off the mob. And they come in like just before daylight they're going, or they're coming out just before dark. And like this sort of country around here is like very mountainous and thick and stuff like that. So hunting those would be a bit of a challenge in itself. Definitely.
So they're very and they're very smart as well. Like the old pigs, as the saying goes, they don't get old for no reason. They don't get old for being dumb. So like, the old ones are extremely smart. Like I said, they only generally come out on those real early mornings, late afternoon. Obviously, more than likely they're generally just nocturnal. And obviously a sow is probably your best bet a sow in season is your best bet of bringing them unstuck when you're going to get your best opportunity at those bigger pigs. But yeah, so they're extremely switched on. Like I said, well, like I said before, tough. They've seen a million things, more than likely encountered dogs at some point, so they know. They hear a car engine to run away. They hear a dog bark. They're gone. Like there's so many things that are cues to them that set them off. And like I said, one natural thing that I guess this is probably a little bit off topic, but like one thing that gets across all animals that I've found that is their biggest thing that probably brings a lot more people's stalks unstuck than they realise is like your bird life and that sort of stuff. Like I said, if you hear, like you obviously Chiddle are probably the prime one for it. You see a lot of it. You hear birds squawking like your little
Happy Jacks.
Yeah, Happy Jacks and all that sort of stuff. You hear them chirping, the deer are straight up. They're looking, anything squawks, they're looking as like an alarm call. Like Chiddle are probably the most prime example of that. But it's the same. It's pretty well applicable across all species I've found. Like your pigs, especially older boars, your reds, your fallow, anything like that. They all take notice of your bird life. So small things like covering your veins and all that sort of stuff. So if you have fluoro veins like orange, white, or orange, yellow, or pink, or something like that, something that stands out, birds will generally pick that up. Like animals, obviously, generally have, like they're pretty well colorblind. They don't see too many colors, whereas birds generally pick that up. To my knowledge, that birds will pick up those colors. So it's like if you're walking around with your quiver and you've got fluoro arrows in there, they'll pick that up, they'll start squawking, and animals will start running away. That's just one of those things that probably gets overlooked a little bit that I reckon, most people should start looking into, because it's definitely the things that probably blow their stalk more than they realise. So you'd be standing there clueless to how an animal's run away, or like you see a pig across a gully, you got to jump down and go across and eventually catch up to him, and you get up there and he's gone. You're like, has he just moved off, or what's happened there? And I said, more than likely, so at some point you've had a bird squawk and he's heard it and just gone. So that's probably one thing that people overlook. And like I said, back on the topic of how smart boars are, it's one of the things they take into account. So
yeah, and Aiden actually preached that lesson to me a long time ago too. When I first started out, was like a lot of people always use the excuse, the wind changed or I got winded. Nah, highly likely you got seen, or something else like a bird or something's given away your position. I
always like to go into my stalks with the goal is obviously to eventually kill the animal. But the only way I'm generally happy for the stalk to end is if I get winded, because that's the only thing I really can't control. Like I can control being seen, I can control being heard. The only thing I can't really control is the wind. So that's the only way. If I've decided I'm going to stalk something, I'm going to try and take it. I'm only the two outcomes I'm happy with: winded or obviously being successful. So definitely one thing definitely if anyone's listening to it and they think, and it kind of clicks for them. I've had a few stalks blow where I didn't really know what happened. More than likely, it's probably a bird that's got you brought you unstuck.
Yeah, and some of those fuckers will just follow you too, like cockatoos and stuff down south. Happy Jacks, man.
Your Happy Jacks and stuff keep following you from tree to tree, and it's just
You're better off just sitting down and waiting until they get bored.
Oh, that's right. You just sit down and hope for the best. They eventually lose interest, but they never do. I said, and I reckon even more so up north, they seem to have more interest in you. I reckon. I had one there, like up in the territory where we're sitting off a dam wall, chasing buff, and to be able to advance over the wall and make a play on the ball sort of thing, we had to wait for the birds to stop, and they just sat there for. It felt like 3 hours. I was sitting there, and I was like, why would we not go away? It's like we're nothing you haven't seen before. I was here at this dam yesterday. You seen me yesterday. Like, why? I said it's such an irritating thing, but anyway, that's part of the nature and what makes hunting fun.
It is. If it was easy, I don't think it'd be as exciting.
No, definitely. It's like the challenge aspect is what makes bow hunting what bow hunting is. So
yeah. Speaking of that too, the fitness side of it, how critical is that?
Fitness is definitely it can be a make or break for being successful. At the moment, I'm probably not the most prime example of peak fitness, but starting to try and get back into that a little bit now. But fitness is definitely one of those things that if you're not at the best you can be, you probably will lose out on some opportunities. Like if you can say, we'll use deer as an example, like you're following a deer up a ridgeline. If you could be that 5-10% faster, following it, or just being able to get somewhere where you need to be a bit more efficiently, you can definitely maximise your chances. And so whereas if you're a little bit more unfit, and you struggle to get up the hill, you got to take a few more breathers and that sort of stuff. Your opportunity could come and go. Like I said, you need to be, most of the time you need to be in a certain spot to get that opportunity, and if you don't make it happen and you're not there, you're gonna miss out. And so fitness is definitely one of those things that you need to be sort of on top of to make it happen.
Definitely. Do you eat a lot of deer?
Generally do. Like I said, whenever we're lucky enough to actually shoot one, I take as much as I generally can. Like I said, we're lucky enough to have a mate that does a bit of sausage. Like, you can make sausages, rissoles, mince. Obviously, with these mincer there, you can cut everything down to sort of what you want it to be. If you want to make some more steaks and that sort of stuff, so we're pretty lucky that we have that aspect there, so we can kind of break it up a little bit. Whereas, like, if you just kind of break a deer down yourself, you've really only got chunks of meat kind of sitting there. So it's good to have a bit of diversity there. But yeah, generally we'll always have a bit of meat or a bit of venison each week. I've still got a fair few sausages in the freezer actually, so that reminded me I've got to get them out. But generally try and have it as much as we can, because it just helps us out with obviously the cost of livings and all that sort of stuff now. Everything's getting super expensive, so if you have something that you can provide for yourself, like deer, it just makes everything a bit nicer, makes everything a bit nice with your finances and stuff, so you can save a bit more and go on more hunting trips. So definitely enjoy eating as much deer as we can.
It's good healthy food too. Like, it's out there, it's lived in the wild like its whole life. No steroids and no grain.
Yeah, it's organic. It's as fresh as you get. It's only going through your set of hands. That's one thing that a lot of people probably get overlooked with, like your beef and stuff, like how many sets of hands it goes through before it gets to you, sort of thing. And like another one was, like, people ask me all the time, how long does like your deer and stuff last in the freezer before it goes off, sort of thing. I was like, well, we generally like to leave it in the fridge for a fair bit of time to let it cure and let all the blood run out of it, sort of thing. So it can survive a long time. I said, I put my steak in the fridge for 5 days and it's off after that. It's because it's been fed with so many preservatives and so many things that's why it goes out so quickly, and also it gets freezer burn and stuff when it's in the freezer. Whereas like your deer meat and stuff will last a lot longer because it doesn't have any of those chemicals or anything that's been pushed into it by like your big
even medications and pesticides, all that sort of stuff.
All that stuff they come across eating some of the food that they get served, or they get given in their like wherever they're being bred, sort of thing. I said they can come across so many different things and so many chemicals, and I said just knowing where everything's been, where it's been through your hands, it's so much more pure. It's definitely the best stuff around.
Yeah, well, I had a heap of chittle left over in the freezer. James dumped a heap at home. I got a big chest freezer and everything, and we pulled it out. A lot of it's probably like 2 years old. Like I've eaten all the good stuff, the ribs and the back straps and the legs and all that sort of stuff. And I just had like offcuts and just heaps of meat left. And it was all cryovac. Most of it was cryovac, so it was all pretty well kept. So we defrosted it all and minced it. Ended up with like 28 kilos of mince or something. Yeah. And it was all primo, like nothing wrong with it at all. Cut it in with a bit of pork fat, and I could serve it to you in like a spag bowl or something, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't even argue the fact that it wasn't beef.
That's it. That's one of the things. Like my mum is not against obviously the organic stuff, but she will not eat a deer. Like she will not eat anything that doesn't come on a styrofoam tray. And like I've said to her heaps of times, like I've just like jokingly said, like, well, I said, you've eaten it before, you don't even know. Like I said, I've mixed it in the spaghetti bowls, and she goes, you fucking haven't. I said, you wouldn't do that to me. I said, I haven't done it just yet.
My old girl's the same.
But but I said, like I said, she wouldn't have the slightest clue about it if it was mixed into something else. And it's the same thing with my now fiance Jess. She never was into, obviously before meeting me, any wild game or anything like that. But since obviously meeting me and she's had more involvement in it and more experiences to it, she now honestly prefers having venison over like your beefs and that sort of stuff, because one aspect, she gets the effort that goes into it, and it's a bit more rewarding eating something that you've taken and prepared yourself, but she just thinks it tastes better. So yeah, that's cool.
I reckon it does. It's just people don't look after it properly in the field, or people don't understand how to cook it properly. Yeah, I think it's, and like in Europe and stuff, it's mainstream. Yeah, it's everyone's eating game meat over there.
Yeah, that's right. Like you see in like your European states and like Scotland and all that sort of stuff. Everyone, it's a main served dish. Like beasts are kind of a back burner. Maybe they don't have as much access to it as I guess we may, but and they see the deer as a bit more of a resource over there. They generally, you said you see it as the top shelf dish on a menu with red wine dew or something like that. So
yeah, and I think it's an underused commodity here too, because like I don't like getting too political on this sort of stuff, but like all of the shit that's happening with like the aerial culling and all the hunting closures and all this sort of stuff. There's a whole industry there, commercial industry, that we could be doing and putting meat back into like you could put deer meat in general into Coles and Woolies easy, and it'd probably be, because you don't have to like export, import, all of that sort of stuff. It would probably be reasonably priced.
Yeah, that's right.
I think because like especially like fallow.
Yeah, easily.
Like, man, those things are everywhere, and like, chittle up north.
Like I said, like, you don't want to jump into it too much, because you can jump into it for hours about why they should do a certain thing. But like I said, it'd be so easy for them to introduce something I would say very similar to like a tag system in the States. Like let's just say there's 5,000 hunters that would happily go and buy a tag to be able to shoot a deer. So you could charge $50 or $100 for a tag, and then look how much money you just made off it, rather than putting up a helicopter and spending money and losing it. You could make money by letting hunters do what they love, and you just know everything's going to get used. There's going to be no mess made, no mess made, but there's going to be nothing left out in the paddock. It's just one of those things, and everyone's going to be happy. Everyone's going to benefit from it. And even if you wanted to put someone in there, I guess professionally, but still going to maximize the resource and actually take the deer out, sort of thing, and then, like I said, distribute it to Coles or Woolies or someone that's in that sort of supermarket venue. There's definitely so much potential that could happen, but just for some reason it just doesn't get brought up or doesn't get approved. But like I said, I know myself, if that was definitely brought up, I'd be the first one to put my hand up and come and do it. So.
I would, and I've always said this on all fronts. Like, I'll pay for hunting licenses, fishing licenses, all that sort of stuff, as long as it goes back in to the industry that we're in to support it. And I think most good, sustainable hunters will say the same, and fishermen will say the same. Pay for a fishing license, and it helps go back into like boat ramp parking and moorings or pontoons or whatever else, or fisheries management. And the same goes for like kangaroos. Like the macropod harvesting in Queensland at least is a huge industry, but 90% of it gets exported to Europe and into the pet food industry. Roo meat's beautiful. It knocks you around a bit, like when you first start.
Like I said, it's very lean and all that sort of stuff. But
it
like
gives you the runs.
That first time you try it, you definitely get either you put your tail between your legs, or you go, no, I love this, I'm going to keep doing it. But generally you get knocked about the first time. You
got to mix it with some bread or something. Like, you
can't just have it dry out of the pan with nothing on it, because it's just going to put the bad taste in your mouth, because it's definitely a very strong tasting meat. But
like, I love roo meat, and it's hard to buy, and if you do find it, it's super expensive as well. And the same goes for deer. There's a few mobs doing it. Dharma Free Range, Discovered Foods is doing it. I think Wild Harvest something's doing it as well. So I think it'll get there, but it's sad that it's the way it is, because there's such a big industry just untapped, and it's a whole economy boost for Australia, really.
Oh, absolutely. I said, like I said, if they wanted to introduce something like a tag system, I said you get the amount of money that they could potentially make. Like, this is obviously from a financial standpoint, they could definitely make a lot of money doing it, and they would keep the hunting industry happy. Like I said, no one would have any problems with doing that. Like, I don't think anyone would have any problems with doing that myself. Like I said, I know myself, as you said you do it as well. I know all my mates, all my hunting mates, they would all be all for it. Because at the end of the day, also, we all like like we said, we like the meat and all that sort of stuff. We all like taking it home and having that as an asset in the house, because it's just an awesome thing to have. It makes it so much easier, and you just, like I said, the enjoyment process you get out of it, it's just second to none.
I 100% agree. Now, tell me about this fishing escapade you've gone on now, because it's been so sick to watch. Like, I love watching people get into fishing, because that's my bread and butter, what I grew up doing more so than hunting. Did a bit of hunting, but mostly fishing. It's so sick to see somebody get like, just, you've fished obviously, but like just starting on something and like getting so hyper addicted to it. Run me through what made you decide to dive into that.
Well, like I said, I sort of come, like I said, always been sort of in the fishing sphere, just like your bread and butter and stuff, like your flathead and your brim. Like all my life, we've done trips to, like I said, Foster at Christmas time, have like an awesome time up there, just chasing those sort of species around. But in the last sort of 12, 18 months, I've delved into the freshwater stuff a bit more, and I've just enjoyed that, because it is very exciting stuff. Like, well, obviously one type of fishing, like your surface fishing, like all those sorts of lures, and the excitement you get, you kind of just like right on the edge every time you bring in a lure back in. Like, you're right there for the burst of excitement, and you finally get the ball for, you finally get something to hit it, and it's almost like I kind of explain it like when like if I was hunting again for the first time, like when I was younger, chasing goats around the hills, the excitement I would get from doing that, I've kind of got the same thing again now, chasing like your freshwater stuff, like your cod and your bass, and then obviously still enjoy the saltwater stuff with your flathead and brim. But yeah, the excitement I've got from it, it's almost like it's just like another passion just been reignited, and I've dived straight into it, and I've bought a fair bit of expensive gear. Because like I said, like once I decide I want to do something, I generally get into it pretty seriously. So so I've jumped into it. Really, of late, really enjoyed obviously the bass stuff. Had my little bass coach help me out, old Hoda. So he's pointed me in a lot of directions with a lot of things, and even helped me make a few homemade lures as well, point me into that direction. So that's been another section of it that I've enjoyed, because like I said, I mean, I do enjoy hands-on kind of stuff, and like I said, making a lure is pretty hands-on. So have enjoyed that kind of stuff. I've made a couple, been successful on all those lures. So it's just one of those satisfying things. Having something you've made catch a fish, and I can kind of relate it a little bit to like the trad archery kind of stuff. It's a little bit more satisfying than your general standard sort of fishing. But I said I really enjoyed it of late. It's just been one of those things, a bit more probably been refreshing, if anything, because like I said, I've always been not just straight into hunting, love hunting, and I've never really had much else to do, I guess. So when I'm looking for something to do, I'm like, oh, I'll just go hunting. I'll go hunting. So having something where I can go, oh, you know what, I might go for an afternoon or a morning chasing bass, or if I might make a trip out of it, I might go chase some cod, or make a run up the coast and go chase some flathead or some brim or something like that. Just something. It just gives me another outlet to go and do something.
And when you talk about outlets, do they mostly with you have to be outdoors?
Oh, they don't generally. Like I was in my younger years, like I enjoyed a fair bit of gaming and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, since I've gotten a bit older, like the outdoor stuff is generally where it's at for me. Like I just enjoy, like I said, number one, it'll always be number one for me is obviously the hunting. Fishing is obviously now a close second, but anything sort of outdoors generally is what gets me going. I'm quite happy just to be out in the paddock. I could even be just by myself, just chilling, just having the time of my life. But it's obviously it's still good to do it with people. I really enjoy the sharing the outdoor experiences with people. Also, I'm lucky enough now that Jess loves it as well. So it's just a good thing for us. We can pick a weekend, go away. And she loves the fishing just as much as I do now. Obviously, I introduced her to hunting, so she enjoys that. So it's just one of those things we can get away, enjoy it. And I said the outdoors is definitely where it's at.
I agree, and there's so much more than just the actual like catching of the fish, like you just mentioned, or killing of the animal and stuff. And this has been repeated 1,000 times by 1,000 people, me included. But just the value of just being out there and out in nature, and you just feel like you're meant to be there. Yeah, you stand out like dog's balls to all the animals and everything like that. But you just feel like you feel a lot more refreshed and comfortable out there, and it sort of gives you time to think. And,
that's it. It just gives you a reset on anything you might be, I guess, troubling you or something like that. You might have a few things you need to run over in your brain. Heading out there, you always come back with a clearer outlook on what you need to do. Just like I said, it's just a massive reset. And I said, I just thoroughly enjoy it. And it's definitely one of those things. I have a lot more plans for the fishing this year. So can't wait to do a bit more of that. And it's obviously a lot of hunts planned as well. So definitely a lot of outdoor adventures planned.
I'm excited to see what you get up to, man. It's awesome. Just because I remember when I was here last time, whenever that was a few months ago, that was you were going out bass fishing. Yeah, that was I think one of the first trips of this set of time that you've been going, and it's sick to come back and like I've watched your stories through the whole thing and all your new lures and all your upgrades of your sizing and everything, and even just watching you cast. Yeah. has changed and a
Yeah.
lot more accurate and
Yeah.
a lot more like lot more natural casting and stuff. It's cool.
I think the time that you guys, I think that was literally the first afternoon I went bass fishing. I just said, I'm going to go for a little wander out one of these creeks. Caught me first little bass, and after that, I was like I said, when something bites me, it bites me hard, and I straight into it. And I said, from then, that's all it's all I could think about. Like straight away, upgraded my setup, so I had a better setup for what I was sort of doing. Got all these fancy lures and all that sort of stuff, and since obviously delving into it sort of thing and sort of working out what works, I quickly realised you don't need to spend super high amounts of money to get the outcomes that you want. You can get away with some pretty average gear, and you can still do it. But like I said, when I jump into something, I generally like to buy once, cry once kinds of thing. Even though with fishing it seems like it never ends, you could always have another rod or another reel and all that sort of stuff. And like I said, I've just enjoyed the whole journey so far with the fishing stuff. And I said there's so many, and with fishing as well, there's so many different things that you can do and chase, and so many different species, especially in Australia as well. Like I haven't really delved too much into the barramundi just yet, but I know just off my dealings with bass and cod and all that sort of stuff, them being a very similar sort of fish, I just know that I'll enjoy that. So definitely in the next, maybe even this year, if not, definitely in the next couple of years, I'll get up there and do some more barra stuff. So yeah, can't wait to do that. And then obviously still stick to my newfound passions of cod, bass, and still me flathead and all that sort of stuff.
Can confirm Barra are very addictive.
Yeah.
And so much fun.
Yeah.
And you're planning on playing footy again?
Yeah.
Rugby league?
I've jumped in for a pre-season with footy this year. Again, like I said, when it just gives me something else to do. Like I said, I've had hunting my whole life. It's been the number one thing that I look to for a hobby. Jumping back into playing footy, it just gives me another outlet still outdoors. Enjoy that, I guess the camaraderie kind of thing with your teammates, and obviously, like I said, we said before, hunting, the fitness side of things. I've quickly learned doing another pre-season of footy how unfit I am. So it's been good to jump into that and get back into it. And like I said, I can't wait to play a couple of games and see how we go.
It's funny how, like, I've played a lot of rugby league myself. It's funny how you can be fit too. Like, you can do your pre-season and you can do all your running and gym and all that sort of stuff. But match fitness is a real thing, and also getting used to soreness. So, like, you sort of, by the end of the season, you don't get as bruised and banged up and as sore after a season of it. It's like your body gets a tolerance level for the brutality of it. Yeah,
exactly. You can kind of correlate that to your hunting stuff as well with like the term is like mountain fitness. Like I said, you can't get like mountain fit without walking the mountains. Like I said, you can do as many things you think that will help, and obviously it definitely helps, but mountain fit is just a whole other kind of thing. Like I said, you could have someone that looks super unfit, but they live in the mountains, and you have someone that looks like they run marathons and all that sort of stuff. The guy that looks like he's unfit will smack the guy that looks like he's running marathons because he's more used to it. So it's like I said, the same thing with like your match fitness with your footy and whatever sport you're playing. It's one of those things that definitely comes with obviously doing it more. So.
Yeah, you look at some of those American guides, like hunting guides and stuff. They're like sticks, so skinny, but like move like gazelles up the mountain. It's insane, and it is too because you can't really replicate the whole like stepping on uneven ground and twisting and turning and like a couple of shuffles and a big slip down a hill and then climb back up and having to grab and pull yourself and it's very hard to replicate. Stair machines is the closest I've come.
I was just about to say this. The closest thing I've come against to walking mountains is definitely the stair machine. Like you chuck a sandbag on your shoulders to imitate like a pack, or you're carrying something out, or like you're trying to mimic carrying a deer out or something like that. Or you can actually get a backpack and stuff it full of weight. Like I know I seen Aiden there for a little while. Was doing a heap of stair stuff with his backpack and strapping weights to it, getting ready for elk season in the States. So like that's definitely the closest thing that you'll get to the incline. But you'll never get yourself ready for, like I said, the dips and rocks and slips and all that sort of stuff that the mountain will give you. So
yeah, I tend to agree. Aiden and I were hanging the shit on each other because I was training for Alaska around the same time that I had a film job over there. So I was like putting 20 and 30 kilos in the meat shelf on my backpack. I must look like a clown. Like you rock up to the gym with a full blown like 80 litre hunting pack and your hunting boots on, and you go and throw your weight plates in your meat in your meat shelf, and then you get on the stair machine, and I just get I hate it. And I just get so angry and just put like real nasty hip hop on and just stare at my feet and just like charge up the machine. And by the end of it, like I've got to spend 10 minutes wiping the whole thing down because the whole thing's just like drenched in sweat.
Covered in sweat,
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those machines that I need to spend a bit more time on leading into the rut. So I will definitely be doing that. But like I said, you just feel like an absolute Fruit Loop walking in with a backpack and hunting boots. Like I said, the amount of things that people would be thinking, like, oh Christ, look at this fucking idiot. What's he doing? And then, but the benefits that you do get out of it is definitely noticeable in the hills. Like I said, and it's funny how it's actually funny how quickly and surprising you can get like mountain fit or match fit. Like I know if we spend a week in the rut, even if I'm pretty fit leading into it, it only takes 2 or 3 days and your legs are pretty accustomed to the hills and you're actually quite, I guess you can say, mountain fit after a couple of days. It doesn't take very long. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I said, you just got to do it to maximise your fitness in it.
Good excuse to get out amongst it.
That's right. Absolutely.
Man, what have you got planned the rest of this year, goals-wise?
Well, like I said before, I now have a fiance, so we're saving for a wedding. So that'll be probably the priority at the moment. Try and save as much as we can for that, and then try and fill as many adventures in as we can in between there. Like I said, there will be a lot of like fishing and stuff. We will obviously do the rut, all that kind of hunting. We'll try and slip in as many hunts in winter as we can, but like now that I'm obviously playing footy, I'm going to have to be a bit more committed to that aspect during winter because that's when that's going on. But main goal we sort of set for ourselves was like obviously now the wedding stuff, but probably want to try and buy a boat at the end of the year. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that sort of stuff, but just got to try and knuckle in and get it all sorted, and hopefully by the end of the year we're ready to go and we meet those goals and we can go from there. But like adventure wise, haven't got too much on the horizons yet. We'll see how we go. Like I said, I generally just let things kind of build up and just happen. Like I'm very impulsive, so if I want to do something, I'll generally book it pretty quickly and decide I'm going to do it. Like the Samba last year, there really wasn't anything on the works for that, and I just kind of went, bang, it's happening. Spoke to a couple of mates, organised it and happened, and we just planned the trip and it happened. Like I said, that's generally how my year sort of rolls. Like I just kind of make the plans as they go, and what opportunities sort of come in front of me. So
that's the way to do it. And setting a heap of goals and it gives you some motivation just to work hard and I don't know, a busy schedule is the play. I reckon that's life.
That's it. Keep it busy, and like as much as shitty as it is, the year does fly past. You get older quicker, but having things to do and definitely makes the time fly, and you're having fun doing it. So
awesome, man. How can people find the business? How can people find yourself? And a bit of a spiel there, so if people want to get in touch and get some archery stuff done. Yeah, so we have obviously a website for the store. Everything that we sort of stock and all that sort of stuff is obviously on there. We have our phone number connected to the website as well, so if you want to ring, speak to me, like myself or Nick or Hodo or someone in the store, you can ring and ask, speak to someone individually. Other than that, Instagram is obviously the best place for it. Just the store is bow hunting only, and then the my personal one is just my name with 2 I's for the last name. So yeah, I said anyone wants to ask me any questions about recurves or like hunting and stuff in general, or even fishing now. I said I'm not the most expertise in fishing just yet, but I do have a few things that I've learnt so far. So if you have any questions for me, by all means, just definitely hit me up. I feel like give it a couple of years, man, and you'll be just as knowledgeable. If you're one of those addictive personalities, you're very similar to me. Mate, I said I'll be learning as much as I can about all that kind of stuff. I said it's bitten me hard, and I'll be doing as much of it as I can. So we'll see how we go from there. Man, thank you so much for your time. It was an awesome chat. I'm glad we finally got it done, and I don't reckon it'll be the last one. No, definitely not, man. I appreciate it. Awesome. Thanks. Bye, everybody. See you guys.